a YouTuber my job, a place where I could move out on my own, a place where I was financially free from my family or whatever. What got me to that place was having that self-belief, being productive, daily doing things that was going to help my future self, working out very consistently, doing yoga very consistently, being in my spiritual era, doing a lot of meditation, doing a lot of journaling. I feel like when you reach your goal, sometimes it can be very easy to, get a little bit cocky even. Maybe say like, oh, I don't need to be doing that stuff anymore because like I got to where I want to be. And although that may be fun and games for a few months, it gets to a point where you're like, okay, I need to check myself and I need to get my shit together because like, why has my apartment been messy for weeks on end? Why have I just absolutely stopped doing yoga? Why have I absolutely stopped working out? Why have I absolutely fried my dopamine receptors? And whenever I try to do work, I am just distracted. I'm constantly looking for stimulation on my phone. I'm just
Next, air. There are studies that show that just going out one day a week can elevate our immune system and make us more relaxed. And then there's But finally, trust. This is something that can't be ignored because studies have shown that people who have a good faith and trust in a God are...
I see messages all the time in the comments section that some of you didn't realize you didn't subscribe. So if you could do me a favor and double check if you're a subscriber to this channel, that would be tremendously appreciated. It's the free thing that anybody that watches this show frequently can do to help us here to keep everything going in this show in the trajectory it's on. So please do double check if you've subscribed, and thank you so much.
Typical day would look like on an office floor, looking at how many calories each employee might burn and how many of their colleagues they might see. And what we found was that by studying that, if we began to round these corners and actually create two-story spaces behind these curved sections of glass, that improved people's visibility and actually drew them out into those spaces and allowed them a greater opportunity for collaboration.
So how many calories would I burn working at Samsung every day?
Probably just in the course of a normal work day. I have to remember what the script said, but it was between 700 and 800.
Does this space help with productivity?
It does. There are a couple things that are happening here. First of all, you notice that you're getting a view in natural light from both sides of the space, which is important. There's research that's shown how
First of all, thanks for doing this. I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Long time coming. I'm glad we're doing it in person and not
Likewise.
remotely. And I think what I want to do is start with your origin story, because your path is very unlikely, your path to becoming a scientist. And I think it actually also kind of contextualizes some of the things that I want to talk about with you today. So maybe start there.
Sure. So on the one hand, maybe I was fated to become a scientist. I guess the two things that are relevant there are, I always loved animals, and I've always been obsessed with animal behavior. Like just could watch Cousteau shows growing up, underwater life or animals hunting, animals doing anything is just so fascinating to me because I think even at a really young age, I've always just been intrigued in sort of what drives different animals to behave in the way they do and how body form matches to.
As I'm making dinner, I got the queasy feeling our boat was moving. And sure enough, our anchors were losing their grip. That's very uncool. In a tiny little cove where the wind is howling, and about 50 yards away at the end of the cove, a very nasty sea is brewing. So we ran up top, turned on the motor so we could get some control of the boat, and sure enough, ran over the rear anchor line, which chokes the prop. We now no longer have control of the boat. We are now at the mercy of wind, which is actually whistling down that canyon and blowing us out of the cove into the open ocean, but then down along that coast, right close to those cliffs. Radioed the Coast Guard. They let us know it will be 3 hours before their heavy weather rescue boat would get there. So we're pretty much at the mercy of all of this. We got our dinghy ready to go overboard in case we hit the rocks. Boat, and even our lives were at risk. And almost simultaneously, we both looked